Oh, hi, everyone. Greetings from Northern Michigan. This is Bob the Science Guy, and Happy New Year to you all. Today I decided to go on a little fishing expedition just for something fun after all of those videos that I did for the holiday weekend. Now, I wanted to visit some of my old friends at 24/7 Flat Earth Discord just to kind of see if they had learned anything from our last episode together. Apparently not. So let's cue up the music and have some fun.
I'd be interested to hear. It's the irreducible complexity. Like, how do you explain irreducible complexity? Things have to be built like the bacteria's flagellum that we're supposed to come from has 42 moving parts. Take away one part, it doesn't function. Bacteria can't eat. Bacteria can't eat. Bacteria can't reproduce. Bacteria can't evolve.
Do all bacteria have flagella?
I'm just saying that's
No,
a
I'm
mixing
asking.
point.
No, I'm asking. Do all bacteria have flagellum?
No, but your
Okay,
eye has
thanks.
a lot of moving parts, and it had to be assembled as one complete unit.
Well, like many arguments in the flat earth, this is simply a rewarmed creationism argument. A bacterial flagella is irreducibly complex, consisting of 42, and he used the number 42, different structures. In reality, a bacterial flagella has about 40 different proteins in it, only 2 of which are unique to flagella. Furthermore, there are many different types of flagella of varying complexities. And not all flagella are built the same or do the same thing. It depends on what the organism needs in its evolutionary desire to survive. Now, one thing that is very interesting is down at the bottom of this, and it's right here. Think of a stone archway hundreds of years after the event. How do you prove how it was built? It might not be possible to prove that the builders used scaffolding to support the arch when it was built, but that does not mean they levitated the stones. Orgel's second rule is this: evolution is smarter than you are. And more generally, the fact that today's biologists cannot prove how every single structure was developed is not proof that somehow there was divine intervention. It just is proof that we haven't figured it out yet. We will eventually. We hope we will eventually. But simply because we haven't right now doesn't mean that there's divine intervention or it's impossible. Now, the other telling point is that as soon as I pointed this out to him, he immediately walked away from flagella and segued into the eye. Then I asked him a question about the eye, and he just got all stumbling.
It had to evolve all as one unit, or else it doesn't work. Which is my point.
And your basis for making that assertion?
I know how a mousetrap works.
That doesn't have anything to do with eyes. We're talking about eyes. Tell me the difference between a human eye and a squid eye.
We have a pupil.
How many parts does it take to make an eye work? More than one?
You start off with one. A photoreceptor.
So,
yeah.
Oh, but see, this is a claim that you're making about like an evolution. Like they started with one, and eventually there was 2, 3, 4, 5, combining, creating like this system that made a more evolved eye.
Where's the evidence for that?
Now, the evolution of the eye found in humans is actually traced back to single-celled organisms with photoreceptors. As these photoreceptors became clustered and then developed in a depression, then developed a pupil to give it sharper vision, and then a focusing lens, the eye as we know it developed. There are examples of all of these organisms in nature. For example, bacteria have the first type of eye, flatworms have the second type of eye, and so on and so forth. So this really isn't a very big problem for evolutionary science. It is a big problem when they tried to challenge me on it, and I actually knew the answer. You see how quickly they're going to dodge this question. Now, what really pissed them off was that I wasn't going to go through all of this for them. I told them, study biology and you'll learn it. This is freshman biology. So I'm not here to teach them something that they don't want to learn and are going to hand wave off. There it is, folks. The link's in the description if you want to read the whole article. Biology.
Okay, that's a vague claim.
Because that's a silly question.
Well, it's not. It's as silly as saying, well, reasons.
Well, no, you say reasons because you don't know. I'm saying biology because there's a lot of information, and I'm not going to give you a 4-hour lecture on the evolution of an eye to answer your question. If you want to learn about the eye, go right ahead and study the eye.
Let's go back to the Earth then, since you're here.
Well, you see, here's the problem that you run into with 24/7 Flat Earth Discord. Their only strategy when dealing with people that actually know something about the subject is to try and shout over them. We're going to see an example of that here. Now, as you can see, challenging a physician and a biology major on the evolution of the eye and flagella probably is not a good idea when, at best, you probably had 8th grade science. Let's see if they do any better with this one.
So, Dr. Bob, would you agree that you don't observe or experience curvature
No.
in your lived reality?
No, not at all.
You do experience curvature?
Yes.
When do you experience curvature?
Anytime I look outside.
Really?
You see curvature?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's what, just like on the beach or what?
You can see it anywhere. Any place you have a view of the sky with clouds, you can see curvature. Yeah.
Okay, so could you define? Sorry, guys. Could you define this?
All right, no, we're going to go.
Hold on, I haven't even.
We're going to go with one person.
Oh my God, I can't get to the end of any point with anybody today.
All right, am I going to be talking to you?
You're good. Look, I'm going to fucking ask you a question and clarify it. You're going to wait to the fucking end of it, then you can fucking answer it. Does that help you?
No, I'm not going to bother with you because your attitude's wrong. Now, if somebody else wants to ask me the question.
When people keep fucking. God's sake, I give up with all of it.
Now, right here, I'm just basically answering a question. Some other guy tries to gang up on me and raises his voice, starts using profanity with me. I'm telling him that I'm only going to be answering one person's questions at a time. And then he just starts screaming at me and using profanity. So I say, no, I'm not going to answer your questions. I'm not going to talk to you. What followed was a rather long and uncomfortable silence as I just turned my mic on mute and waited for them to make the next move. Listen to this fantastic comeback.
Just for the record, this guy disagrees with Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Well, that's a plus.
Oh dear. How could I possibly ever recover from that? I disagree with Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't think I've ever quoted Neil deGrasse Tyson or said anything about the man. Nor do I really need him to talk about science. If you want to ask the question politely, I'll respond to you, but I'm not going to respond to name-calling and swearing.
Bob made the claim, you made the claim that you could observe curvature anytime you look outside.
Pretty much, yeah. As long as you have a clear view of the horizon.
Re-ask the question in a nicer fashion and then, hopefully give the person a chance to answer.
Happy to.
So, Misty, I do agree.
And I've agreed to that already. So I'm being respectful to you guys. I expect you to be respectful to me.
Yeah, I mean, so you made that claim and where Jedi was headed with it, I don't know why it got so tense right there so quick, but, clarify where you observe curvature every time you look outside.
Well, as long as the air is clear, you can see curvature any place that you have a clear view of the horizon.
Okay, that's very vague.
That's
how you observe this curvature.
Well, you can see it curving away from you. You can see the drop in the horizon from elevation. You can see clouds and aircraft going over the horizon. Mostly clouds because they're larger and you can see them easier.
I mean, I don't know if we have two different lenses on our eyes, but the bottoms of the clouds, they sit at a cloud layer.
Yes.
And that appears flat to me. It doesn't appear to be curved.
As it should. However, that layer curves around the curve of the Earth.
That sounds like doublespeak, Bob. Though, I mean, it should.
Yes.
It should look flat.
Yes, of course.
At the same time, at the other side of your mouth, you're saying, no, but it does curve.
I'm fine with weather. Thank you. So if you have a question about why I say the bottoms of clouds are at a certain level, I can explain that to you, and that level will curve with the curve of the Earth around, which is why the clouds, which start off over your head, go down to touch the horizon.
Right, but you can't see that curve.
Sure
like
you can.
You said you see it, but
sure
then
you can.
you said that it appears. You agreed with me when I said that layer appears to be flat.
It is.
That it should appear to be flat.
Yeah, it occurs at a certain level above the ground. Okay, so before they go off the rails and this conversation starts to go down, let me go ahead and explain exactly how you can see the Earth is curved by just having a clear view of the horizon and some clouds. So we're going to go over this photograph, which I personally took with an iPhone 10. No fisheye lens. There it is. So let's go ahead and go over it. Now I want to call your attention to a couple of things. First of all, this is flat farmland here in Michigan, not far from my house. We have two different layers of clouds. We have these low cumulus clouds right here, and then we have these high altitude clouds. Okay? And I want to draw your attention to a couple of things. First of all, the sun is setting, as you can see right here. And these clouds are lit up red from the underside. These clouds are in darkness, and as a result, they're dark gray. You see the difference in the colors? Now, what does this tell us? First of all, if you look at these high altitude clouds, they go all the way down to the horizon. These clouds form at a particular altitude in an area based on weather conditions due to something called the adiabatic lapse rate, which means that if you look at the temperature and the dew point, a certain altitude where those two come together, a cloud will form if there's moisture in the air. So these clouds are all at the same altitude above the ground. Yet even though they're very high altitude clouds here, they go all the way to the ground. That's because they are at a set distance above the ground all along the spherical Earth. And as the Earth curves, the clouds curve with it. And that's why you see the clouds on the ground. Second of all, you can also see that since this is west and we've got a setting sun, the sun is below the horizon. It's lighting up these orange clouds up here, but no sunlight is arriving at these lower clouds because the sunlight is actually streaming above these clouds. It's hitting these high altitude clouds, but it's missing the low altitude clouds. That's another proof of the curvature of the Earth. So the bottom line is this. This information is readily apparent to a trained eye if you know what to look for. If you don't want to see curvature and don't want to see evidence of curvature, you're going to look at this and say it's a sunset. And you'll have no idea what you're even looking at. Yet I just pointed out the salient features there. And with those tidbits of information, you can clearly see curvature there. That's absolute evidence of curvature.
So this is a trick that you've made in your mind where you say
what?
Where you say I'm now assuming I know because I've been told I know that I live on a ball.
No.
It's too big. It's too big to see it.
Haven't said any of that.
No.
Now you see how uncomfortable I'm making him right now? I'm taking him off of his script. He wants to have me talk about the size of the Earth and how big it is and how hard it would be. I didn't say any of that. I said that I can look at the clouds. They go overhead and come down and touch the ground. You can see the lighting pattern on the clouds. This is sure evidence of a spherical Earth. You're welcome to try and tell me how this happens on a flat Earth, and until you do, my spherical Earth explanation is the best thing we got. That's a straw man argument. You're making an argument for me that I didn't make. I said clouds form at a certain level.
the doublespeak portion of it. You said it should appear to be flat, but you said that you can observe it to be curved. Well, if
That's not
which
what I
one
said
is
at
it?
all.
Which one is it?
I
You
didn't
said
say that
you
at all.
You started off by saying you can observe it every time you look outside.
Yes.
You can observe curvature, but then you also agreed that it appears to be flat. So, which one is it?
Are you done?
For now, yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to be interrupted during the answer. All right. Now, the base of clouds form at a certain level above the ground because that's how clouds form. All right. You can see that as a cloud deck. And if you look at that cloud deck and follow it off into the distance, you will see that that cloud deck actually comes around the curve of the Earth as well because it's at a certain elevation above the ground at any point, in a local area. As long as the conditions are the same, the clouds will form at the same level above the ground.
All I can see is
okay, you interrupted me. All right, you interrupted me. All right.
I respectfully disagree on what you're saying, Dr. Bob.
Okay, and great.
All I can
please,
see is that
please give me your reasons.
That cloud deck that you were talking about, and as it travels out into the distance, it reaches a convergence point with the horizon, where it appears to be dropping. It does not necessarily appear to be curving, and you can look behind you and you can see that same thing.
Correct, so, because it curves in both directions.
You can assume that a ball explains that, but I can assume that it's just perspective that does it.
Well, I would say that you're wrong then.
Well, this, of course, is another classic flat Earth argument. You have this convergence of angles, and our eyes cannot see them anymore. So let's go ahead and see how far away the horizon would have to be in order for the Raleigh criterion to make it so that we couldn't distinguish the space between the surface of the Earth and the cloud deck, with a cloud deck at 5,000 feet. So here we have an advanced triangle calculator. Leg A right here, which is the elevation of the clouds, is 5,000 feet. The angle alpha, this one right here, is 1 minute of angle, which is 1/60th of a degree, and it's 0.0167. So let's calculate for leg B. How far would that horizon have to be in order to make that 5,000 foot cloud deck merge with the surface? Here's the number of feet. Let's go ahead and figure that out in miles. Let's see now. 17.154424. You think it'd be okay if we just left the decimal off? Yeah, I think so. Divided by 5,280 feet. That's 3,248.94 miles. 3,250 miles. So, are you trying to tell me that the reason that the clouds merge with the surface of the Earth is that they're more than 3,000 miles away? Really?
So let's say the clouds are 5,000.
How does that relate? How does that correlate to?
Are you going to ask me questions, or am I talking to the other gentleman?
I'm asking you a question.
All right, I'll talk to you now then.
Bob.
Then I'll talk to you now then. I guess we're going to disregard his.
How does that correlate with telling you what you're standing on is spherical in nature? Why are you looking to clouds, the top of the sky, the atmosphere, to tell you what's beneath your feet?
That's a very good point.
Yeah, it's an excellent question, and I'll be happy to answer it. I know that the clouds are a certain distance above my head. Okay? And as those clouds go off into the distance and curve around to meet the horizon, I can imply the curve of the Earth by looking at the curve of the clouds, since I know the clouds are...
You can't prove that.
But
false equivalency fallacy. Curving clouds don't prove curving Earth.
You didn't think that through very well, did you? You know, I'll tell you something. Those flat earthers do love their logical fallacies, and I have high hopes that someday they may actually use one correctly. Now, it is not a logical fallacy to assume that curving clouds equals curving Earth. Since the clouds are a certain distance above the Earth at all times, if the clouds curve, the Earth is also curving. That is not a logical fallacy. That's deductive reasoning. Learn about deductive reasoning. Now, just to help you out a little bit, a couple of weeks ago, I did a video on something Wolfie 6020 had done called dyscalculia. You may want to review that and get some insight from it. Now here's the rules. I don't really care
There's
what
no
you
rule
claim.
that you were going to tell us. Sorry.
I really don't care if you yell logical fallacy, because
we don't
you
care
can
that
yell.
You're in here. Why are you even in here trying to talk your crap?
Okay. Well, I'll leave. That's not a problem.
Because the clouds are in a distance, what's happening is like you're not taking into account your ocular vision and how your eyes work, and the fact that perhaps things that are further away from you are harder to discern than clouds that are right above your head. But that's why Sassy was trying to say, well, why don't we concentrate on what's under your feet? Because it's local. You know what I mean? It's right under your feet. That's why people have measured with lasers.
Oh, God, they do love their logical fallacies, don't they? Yeah, you guys didn't think this through very well, did you? All right, well, this is Bob the Science Guy signing out from Northern Michigan. I want to thank you all for stopping by, and make sure you hit that little like and subscribe button down in the lower right corner. We also have our Patreon in the description if you'd like to feel a little generous towards the channel. You don't get anything special other than bragging rights that you're on Team Bob. So, thank you again for stopping by. We'll see you again real soon.